Welcome to the CEO Insider Podcast, powered by YTexas. My name is Sandy McIlree, joined by Ed Curtis, and we have a interesting guest today that's going to share some good stories with us. Ed, do you and Ollie go back a ways, or do you just meeting each other?
Yeah, we go back a couple of years. Ollie, when he first moved here from Greensboro to run the DBJ, we befriended each other, right?
Ed was one of the first folks that welcomed me to town about a year and a half ago. So
It's funny. I hear that from a lot of people. They're like, as soon as I got here, Ed became my friend.
Yeah, I stalked him as soon as I find out they moved here.
He doesn't waste any time.
Well, Ollie, welcome to the CEO Insider Podcast. Here we are. I think was it about around week 6 that we're into the whole, shelter in place thing. And how are things? We're in Austin. How are things both personally and for your company in Dallas?
Things are about as good as they can be, I guess. I personally, all of the staff has been work from home. Our news team has shifted to a pretty major 24/7 news operation, but family's good. I'm getting used to having the kids running around and going wild while I'm trying to jump on all these video calls and stuff. But we're about as good as can be.
Right. Is every story COVID-19 related? Should there be some tone of that in every story that you guys are seeking out?
Sandy, that's a great question. Early on, the first couple weeks, it seemed that was all we wrote about and how it impacted local business. We've kind of shifted a little bit. The last few weeks have kind of transitioned into our normal news flow. We're covering stories and businesses, people that are starting to come to town and expand their operations, which is our norm. So it's nice to see the shift, but it's not all we're writing about at the moment. It still is probably the most significant part of it.
Yeah, you kind of wean yourself off. It's the same way with my radio show. For a while, everything was all about the coronavirus, but then you kind of have a feel, if you will, that it's okay to move on to some other stuff. And speaking of some other stuff, you guys have had some great pieces recently in the Dallas Business Journal that I know Ed wants to talk to you about, including, I don't know which one you're going to start with, Ed, so go ahead.
Yeah, well, first I have to give you credit. I mean, I've been following you guys forever, but the last couple of months, you've really stepped up your game. I mean, I'm sure obviously everyone's sheltered at home, but it seems like you're working harder now probably than you ever have.
Yeah, it's gotten a little crazy. Just initially the middle of March there, we I think it was March 12th, we shut down and said, hey, we're working remote. Immediately, our editor-in-chief said, hey, we're gonna move to a 24/7 news operation just to capture the evolving news flow. So these guys have had staggered days off. There's no Saturday or Sunday. They all kind of run together. But yeah, I mean, we've had to adjust pretty quickly, and it didn't take us very long. We didn't plan on working remote, but we adjusted in under a week, probably.
You really find out what kind of team you have, don't you? When you work remote and you don't see them day in and day out. You discover a lot, I bet.
Oh, you're absolutely right. And I discovered personally that I'm more tech savvy than I thought I was. Mm-hmm. I've been able to use all the tools that we have at our disposal, and everybody's accessible. What I'm finding is we're actually probably more efficient at the moment, just because you eliminate drive time, you eliminate coffee meetings that are not productive, those kind of things. And so it seems that we're thriving in this environment at the moment. I'm looking forward to going back to seeing real people in real life, but at the moment we seem to be doing as good as we can.
Have you noticed that the pick your brain meetings kind of have slowed down, and the drop-ins to your office, you do become more efficient, right?
You're exactly right. The pick your brain stuff is kind of put on the back burner. Every meeting we take has an agenda. This is what we're trying to accomplish. It's clear objectives, and that goes all the way from my spot down to an entry-level sales rep almost. They're not messing around with their time either. So we're learning a lot from this, and I think we'll probably be more productive coming out of it.
I would agree.
Well, and it lets you get to business, and that's writing and telling stories. As this week or yesterday, actually, Governor Abbott had opened up some businesses, some industries. I know we have retail, malls, restaurants, movie theaters, up to 25% occupancy. And then May 15th, and Ollie and you talked about this, that's probably when everyone is going to be able to get back to work. So what I figured we would do today is, put a little positive spin on what we're about to accomplish here over the next several months when we get back to work. And I flipped through a couple of interesting articles that your folks have written, and I would like for you to share a couple of these stories with us. So you ready? Ready to get fired away?
Oh, gladly. Love to.
All right. Well, good. So let's see here. A small DFW furniture manufacturer is producing masks in Louisville, and your Evan Hupfer wrote an article on March 25th. Really interesting story. Tell us about it.
Yeah, so Evan is our manufacturing reporter, among other things. Evan's terrific. So he uncovered this small manufacturer, the Leather Sofa Company. They, as their name indicates, they manufacture furniture. Very early on, I think this is probably the third week in March, they shifted their operations right away to start crafting masks. I think they started with a local oncology practice, and it kind of spread. But they discovered that they could keep 10 or 12 people employed by shifting their operations to craft these masks. That there's a need for the masks. So it worked out nicely. Now they couldn't keep everybody employed, but they managed to keep their operations running and keep these folks, some of them with a job. I think they had to get a waiver from the city of Dallas to allow these 10 or 12 folks to leave and work and all that. But it's a good indicator of a good symbol of a company that saw a need and was agile enough to adjust their operations on the spot. I mean, this happened probably in a day or two, and they're cranking out stuff that just helps our community.
Yeah, I saw they were redeploying some of the people that were, either cutting parts of the sofa or actually building the foundation and the base of the sofa. They were using that for different parts of the masks.
Yeah, I think they're the only issue they have at the moment is materials, because they had to get some different types of materials like the elastics for the masks and all that stuff. But as long as they're equipped with the materials, I think they can continue to produce masks. I'm sure they'll go back to their normal operations at some point, but for now they're filling a need, really kind of two needs. I mean, they're keeping people employed and they're filling a need in the community for the medical masks. So really, really cool story about a small business in our community.
Amazing. Sandy, we talked about several examples of this, right?
Yeah, I was just going to say it's amazing how quickly people can pivot to a direction of need. One day they're making furniture, the next day they're making masks. I mean, it's impressive to see, and how much of it has happened across the country is pretty amazing.
Yeah,
this is not just local to us, like you said, Sandy. And one, there's some other folks. We've had a couple distilleries, Bent Distilling and Buzzballs Liquors. They shifted to make their from liquor to making hand sanitizer. Again, filling a need and shifting their operations. So really, and it's not just here in Dallas. This is nationwide.
Right.
Yeah. What makes these stories interesting is these companies are not, they're going to be struggling like everyone else. I mean, and the fact that they step up and get creative, really interesting. Give a little plug for leathersofaco.com. Check them out. Okay, so moving on, our friends at the Communities Foundation of Texas, always doing amazing things in the area, Ollie, and they're working on a couple of big projects with large companies, with other nonprofits. Talk a little bit about what you've written about those. And by the way, David Adjumay, on March 23rd, wrote the article.
Yeah, David is one of our younger reporters. He's a North Carolina guy too. He's a Wake Forest grad. David's terrific. So yes, Community Foundation of Texas has a whole slew of things going on, several different initiatives. And what they do best is engage with the big corporate community to tap into their resources, dollars, time, advocacy. They reach out to these folks and really employ those resources and help the community. One of the coolest things I've heard, and we wrote about this, was they launched something called Get Shift Done, and really they're taking displaced restaurant and hospitality workers, folks that are out of work, and filling a need by employing these people at nonprofit organizations, typically hunger relief nonprofits, food related nonprofits. So these folks are out of work and they're paying them $10 an hour to go work and volunteer, quote unquote, volunteer at these nonprofits. So they're filling two needs. They're serving the nonprofit community that is ultimately serving the folks that are struggling in DFW. but they're also putting these displaced restaurant workers back to work for $10 an hour. And, it's a temporary thing, but it's a clever idea. It's a way to keep folks employed and then obviously help our community. It's catching on. So this has moved beyond Dallas now. I think Get Shift Done has moved to DC,
El
and
Paso.
El Paso, potentially a couple other cities as well. I just haven't heard, but it's this was talking about corporate social responsibility. This was an idea by a company named Shift Smart. I think the CEO is Patrick Brandt. Came up with the idea, engages the board chair at the North Texas Food Bank, a guy we all know is Anurag Jain here in Dallas, and the two of them come up with the idea and really put it to work almost immediately. I mean, this didn't take very long. They had this up and running probably end of March.
Yeah. Amazing. Called getshiftdone.org is the website. And I like their opening. It was keep workers working and food on the tables of North Texas. Great concept.
Absolutely.
Sandy, thoughts?
Oh, I was going to wait till you were dead. I wanted to talk to Ollie. I want to talk golf.
Yeah. Well, we'll get to golf.
I know you're a player. I know you played in college, and we're on a golf and an academic scholarship. So later, I give it some thought, but I wanted to know.
I wanted to keep that quiet, Sandy.
Yeah.
It's out there. If I can find it, anybody can. Maybe later on, we'll find out who your dream foursome would be.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. So anyway, I want to get to the third story, and it's our friends at the DEC Network, Dallas Entrepreneur Center, doing a bunch of great things. Tell us about a couple of those stories.
Yeah, so everybody knows Trey Bowles and Bill Chin over there. They're a terrific group that helps the startup and entrepreneurial community. Actually, Trey reached out to me several weeks ago, right when we kind of were hit with the whole crisis, about compiling all of the resources. There's a slew of resources out there in our community. Where do you start, right? And I think Trey, obviously, the deck is focused specifically on the startup community. So what he's done is really compile a list of resources all into one website. It's called letsgrowntxbusiness.com. So Let's Grow North Texas Business. And it's a collection of COVID-19 related resources for these folks that are could be struggling with their startups, with their early stage businesses, and really never faced a crisis like this before. So that's very easy. He's compiling resources from various different sources: the city, the state, chambers, economic development councils, all those types of groups. I think the most interesting part of the site, he's created, I think it's called the Fast Track Mentor Network. So what he's doing is pairing veteran small business owners with folks that are earlier stage and might be struggling with the crisis. And when we first talked, this was probably 2 or 3 days into the crisis. He had already had 40 mentors, I think, signed up for this thing. Mm-hmm. So he's not only providing resources, but they're also creating connections amongst the startup community. Those connections are great now amidst a time of crisis. But when we come out of this, it's a terrific resource to have all those folks plugged in together. So yeah, the DEC network, they're constantly doing all kinds of different things, but this is just, the way they mobilized overnight to provide all of these resources is just a really cool testament for our community and that group in particular.
Yeah, and they jumped on this immediately. And I think the program is small business owners and startups, the challenges they have alone in normal environments are difficult. Can you imagine now?
Right. I took a look at their calendar, their events calendar on the site on letsgrowntxbusiness.com. Yeah. They have 4 or 5 virtual events a day. Again, tapping into local resources, local information, and getting that out to the community as soon as possible.
Yeah.
Ollie, I'd like to know, I want to talk about your writers a little bit. I'm very interested in what they do because, they actually go out and find stories. They just don't copy and paste stories like a lot of people do. Mm-hmm. And I'm curious about the what's more important in that world? Is it to find the stories or to be able to write the good stories? Because I would imagine there's certain people that just have a knack for finding good stories. Is that a skill that you can acquire? Or is that just a talent?
That's a great question, Sandy. To answer it, it's both. We certainly want to have that knack to uncover a good lead, a good story, and then ultimately craft a great article. In our world, everybody's a little bit different. For us, it's definitely breaking news. We want to be first on the scene. We want to provide information that hasn't necessarily been out there before, but we also want to make sure that we look at it under the business lens. So when I say business lens, most of what we're writing about is how is your business going to deal with the coronavirus crisis? How do you come out of this? We're providing a lot of information that that allows these business owners to obviously survive, but then ultimately grow their business beyond this. The reporters are very focused on sourcing. We have veteran reporters, some of the best veterans that I would tell you statewide, we have several of the best reporters for their particular beats. Um, Part of that is a significant part of that is that they're very well sourced. So they have relationships that are public or not public. They can get the information they need
Hmm.
and ultimately craft an article that informs the business community. So it's a bit of both.
Yeah.
Sourcing's big.
And with the 24-hour news cycle, I mean, you've got to turn that stuff so fast that you got to have the sources for it. Otherwise, you got no story, right?
You're right. You're right on. Writing is, for our crew, it's, that's second nature. The coming up with the idea and crafting it in a certain way to inform is really kind of where the work is done.
Hmm.
Once we have that down, once we have the sourcing down, it's just, the writing the article piece is fairly, quick, I guess is the
Yeah.
best way to say it. Yeah.
All the work is done up front.
Yeah.
Totally. They spend a lot of time on the phone. They spend a lot of time, obviously, on video calls and that at the moment. But just keeping in contact with their sources and their relationships is what yields the information.
What is the state of journalism right now? Is it good?
I can speak for us. We're doing fairly well. Our subscription. I looked at this the other day. Our subscription rate is we've grown 2.3% in 2020. That's paid conversion. Some of the most ridiculous numbers we've ever had are happening right now.
Yeah.
There was a moment in time, I think our streak ended a few days ago, but we had 19 consecutive days of record page views, meaning that day beat the day before 19 consecutive days in a row. I think, that's a testament to the environment we're in right now. Obviously, everybody's curious for information. And we're providing it. I mean, again, sourcing is a big deal. We're the first on the scene. So these folks are doing a really good job. Our team's doing a terrific job of capturing information, and our audience is skyrocketing. I think part of that is people are sitting at home and they have a little more time to digest, but curiosity at the moment is at its peak.
Yeah, there's a thirst. There's definitely a thirst for.
Yeah, and people want a trusted resource, and you guys have been there for a long time. Obviously, you've got your your Austin and your San Antonio and Houston markets. So we appreciate all the great work you guys are doing. And Sandy, let's if you want to talk about golf, let's do it.
Okay, before we get into golf, the picture behind you, there's a person without a face.
Yes.
What's the significance of that? I know you just put it up.
So yes, this was a white wall 2 days ago. So this was our technically it's an office, but it was a storage room until 2 days ago. So when I was the publisher in Greensboro, I left there a year and a half ago. Very, very talented designer there, who's also a talented artist. Anybody that left the Triad Business Journal in Greensboro, she crafted one of these things, a faceless version of the person.
Love it.
So that's me. Ego withstanding, I put it on the wall behind me, but I owe it to Michelle Vernon. That's her art. It's terrific. We had an editor leave Greensboro and go to Denver. Becky Troyer, she's got one of those on her wall as well. So nothing too significant other than a tribute to Michelle's skill.
I love it. That's fantastic. Yeah. And just next to it is some golf drawings there. Let's talk golf a little bit. I know you played in college. Do you get to play much anymore?
I'm just now getting back into it. We 25, I guess when I was 25 was probably the most golf I ever played outside of college. And since then it's been almost 20 years now that I've been playing frequently. We joined a country club here in Collin County and because of I hate to say, but they're still open. And so amidst the COVID pandemic, I've been going out there probably 2 or 3 times a week, and obviously social distancing, not touching the flag sticks or anything, but starting slowly.
Are the cups above ground?
They're flipped upside down, so you don't have to.
Yeah.
They're not above ground, but you just 2 fingers and you get the ball out. But I'm terrible, man. This is about as bad as I've ever been, but it's fun to be back into it.
Don't talk to me like that.
Yeah, I'm afraid of
people who play golf in college could pick up a stick in 20 years and probably shoot it.
20 years ago, Ed. That was 20 years ago.
Yeah. A friend of Ed and ours, he plays quite a bit, and he's probably a 6 or an 8 handicap. Yeah. And he was bragging there, I shot 74 the other day. And I'm like, you didn't shoot 74 because they don't have to make the putts.
Right.
Up that's 2 inches above the hole. You didn't shoot 74.
Yeah. You smash those putts again.
Turn that score in if you think about 74, right?
While we're on this topic, Ollie, what are your thoughts on the Byron Nelson moving?
I'm about as excited.
Or the former Byron Nelson, yeah.
Again, I've been here a year and a half, and I have yet to be out at Trinity Forest. I would love to go check it out. I've heard really good things about the golf course itself. I heard about the challenges that went along with the tournament as well. I'm excited because I live across the street from Craig Ranch. So
oh, wow.
I'm not a member out there, but it's literally, it's probably the first tee is probably 1,000 yards from my house. So it's exciting for this area. I'm sure I've heard the history on Craig Ranch that this was the intent all along, and so it's here. I'm sure all the players and stuff, they'll be staying out, like at the Star or Legacy West or something like that. But it's good. I mean, it's good for the whole region. But I think if you hone in, it's great for Collin County and kind of this north part of town here.
So who's your dream foursome?
So I got to start with my father. He passed away it's been 25 years now.
Wow.
And in fact, he didn't bring me into golf. Somehow I got into it on my own and flipped it on him and brought him into it. So he'd be on that list. My brother, who lives in Toronto, Canada, he played in college as well, up in kind of Pittsburgh area, a school called Slippery Rock. So those two, and I don't know how polarizing this is, but I'd put Tiger Woods in that group almost before those two.
Yeah.
Tiger Woods is man, it's unbelievable. I love watching. I mean, as most people do, just seeing what he can accomplish and some of the outrageous stuff he does.
Yeah, that Masters win was unbelievable. I mean, it's just shocking, shockingly good. Ed, I did not mean to take us off course there. But
no, this is great.
Ed's all business, Ollie. He's like, he wants.
Yeah,
he wants to.
Ready to go.
What do you get? What else do you have for him? Anything?
That's it, man. Ollie, anything on in parting?
Yeah. I'll throw 2 last things. Check out the Business Journal site, dallasbusinessjournal.com. Ed mentioned we've got an Austin, Houston, and a San Antonio as well. We've also launched a small business resource guide on there for business owners. Easy to find. As soon as you get on the site, top, middle, you'll see the button, hit it, and it's federal, state, and local resources completely unlocked for any business owner to stay informed. And May 5th, North Texas Giving Day. You can give early. You can give early now if you want to, but jump on their site. I think it's literally northtexasgivingday.org. We should all participate, obviously, at the way things are. We need to help out.
Yeah, I think over 3,000 nonprofits could be benefiting from it.
Totally.
It's, amazing. Well, Ollie, we're big fans of you. We're big fans of the Journal, and we appreciate all the great work you're doing for the region.
You got it, Ed. Thank you very much. Thank you, Sandy.
All right, Ollie. Take care of yourself.
You too, guys.
All right, man.
All right.
See you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Don't forget to stay up to date with all things going on. You can check us out on Facebook. Just search YTexas. Also, go to YTexas.com. Ed, we'll talk to you soon.
Take care, Sandy.